All right, we're going to continue solving absolute value equations. So what's a little bit different is that we have to truly isolate the absolute value first. So if we isolate, what I mean is by moving anything that is not inside of the absolute value bars over to the opposite side of the equal sign. So for example, we have this positive 2. How do I undo adding 2? We do that by subtracting 2 from both sides. So when I do that, I still have the absolute value of 5x plus 2, and that is equal to this positive 18. Now from here, because absolute value bars are isolated, how I get rid of the absolute value bars is writing my two equations. And so my first equation I'm going to write is going to be 5x plus 2 is equal to 18, the number that I have on the other side of the equal sign. And I'm going to have 5x plus 2, whatever was inside the absolute value bars, is going to be equal to this opposite, so negative 18. Now from here, yes, we have two equations that we have to solve. So I want to get x by itself. My first step is going to be to subtract 2. The opposite of adding 2 is to subtract 2 from both sides. So here's my wall. The good thing about this is that whatever I do to this equation, I'm going to follow those exact same steps over here on this other equation. Meaning that for my first step over here, I'm also going to subtract 2 from both sides. Now, the result is going to be different. So here, my 5x is going to get brought down, but 18 minus 2 is 16. Now, on the other side, I'm going to bring my 5x down, but I have to be careful because even though the process is the same, the result is going to be different. A negative 18 minus 2 is a negative 20. But still, the steps are the same. How do I undo multiplying 5 times x is going to be dividing by 5. Whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. So here I get that x equals a 16 over 5. You can just leave it as a fraction. And over here, after I divide both sides by 5, again, same step, but different result. I'm going to get that x equals a negative divided by a positive is negative, and then 5 goes into 20 4 times, so I get a negative 4. So my two solutions are a positive 16 over 5, or if you have a teacher that has you write it as 3 1/5, you could do that, and then x equals a negative 4 as well. Now, in number 2, something very similar, but notice how here I had addition or subtraction. Here I have a multiplication. This is saying negative 8 times the absolute value of 9x minus 2. Now these are not parentheses, meaning we do not distribute that negative 8, so please do not do that. But what we are going to do is undo this negative 8, which is being multiplied to the absolute value bars, by dividing by negative 8. So rather than multiplying by negative 8, I'm going to divide both sides of this equal sign by the entire negative 8. What that does is this reduces or simplifies down to a positive 1. So I have the absolute value of 9x minus 2 equal to a negative divided by a negative is positive. So this is a positive 2. Now that my absolute value bars are isolated, I'm going to write my two equations to get rid of those absolute value bars. My first equation is going to be 9x minus 2 equals 2. And I'm going to have 9x minus 2 equal to its opposite, which is negative 2. So again, two equations, but steps are going to be the same to solve. So if I draw my wall, now if you can't solve both of them at the same time, that's okay. Just do one at a time and go slow. 9x minus 2, the opposite of subtracting 2 is to add 2 to both sides. So I have 9x equals 4. Then I'm going to divide by 9. So the opposite of multiplying by 9 is to divide by 9. So I get that x equals the fraction 4 over 9. Reduce your fraction if possible when you can. In this case, it doesn't reduce anymore, so we leave it as 4 over 9. In the same way, I'm going to add 2 to both sides here. Same steps, but different outcome. I get, instead of 9x equals 4, a negative 2 plus 2, I'm going to get 0. Now, people forget that 0 is a number. I don't want you to hurt 0's feelings. Okay, it has feelings too. 0 divided by anything is going to be 0, so we get that x equals 0. And again, 0 is a real number. It is possible for you to have $0 in the bank. If you have nothing in the bank, that is a real number. So some people freak out and say, well, I have nothing left. Well, you're kind of right. You have 0, which is a number. So this is how we solve absolute value equations.